All right, so as part of this video, we're going to take a look at how to set up a working environment on a Windows machine. Now, what we want to do is create a sandbox within which Ubuntu can run, a Linux image can run, and this sandbox is essentially a virtual machine. And we want to use VS Code to connect to this virtual machine so that we can write code in VS Code, right? And towards this end, then there are three softwares that we'll require. One is called multipass. So multipass is the software that will manage that virtual machine for us. It will create and manage that virtual machine. So we go to multipass's website and okay, accept all the cookies, go to the documents section, the docs option here, and then go to how to guides, and then within how to guides, go to install multipass. Once you're there, scroll down and check the prerequisites section and click on Windows. Now, what we notice here is multipass uses a hypervisor to essentially create and manage an image, right? And so the hypervisor in our case, at least in my case that I wanted to use, was VirtualBox. And the reason to that is the Hyper-V only works on Windows 10 Pro and Enterprise, and I have a Windows Home installation. So I'm going to go ahead and focus on the VirtualBox. It says Multipass also supports using VirtualBox as a virtualization provider. You can download the latest version from here. So I'm going to right click this and open it in new tab, and then go on this tab, scroll down and download it for the Windows platform. Now it is asking me to save. I will save this, and it has downloaded it, so I just launch it, right? So the installer for VirtualBox has launched, and what we would want to do is essentially install VirtualBox. All right, so next, yes, install. So as VirtualBox installs here, I'll go back to the main page and then proceed with, download the latest installer of what? Multipass. So installer of Multipass would be available on their download page here. I just click on it and it should go ahead and straight up download Multipass. So it's asking me to save that executable. I will save it, and it should take another second, and multipass is downloaded. What I'll do is click on that and also launch the multipass installer, right? And let's go check. So VirtualBox is completely installed. I don't want to launch it, so I uncheck this option and click finish. This is the installer for multipass. I'll go ahead, agree to the terms, and okay. On this page, if you see, it says, hey, what hypervisor should I be using? So we say Oracle VM VirtualBox. This is why we required VirtualBox. Now, okay, then we move ahead, and I like to install for all users, and the users path variable. So next here, next, next. Yeah, it's installing. This takes like a while. Now, the third piece of software that we need, if you don't already have it installed, is VS Code. So I'm going to download and install VS Code as well. Right. So I go to the VS code.vs code or code.visualstudio.com, and there I see this big button which says download for Windows stable build, and I just click on that. Once I click on that, the pop-up pops up asking me to save the binary file, the executable file, and VS Code is also downloaded. So I'll go ahead and also start the installation of VS Code. Uh, Go ahead and do next. Yes. Uh, yes. I like to also have open with code as an option. So I will check those and install. In the meantime, here, multipass has finished installing. All right. So we got the virtual box, we got the multipass, and we also have VS Code getting installed right now. So the next step that we want to do, the next thing that we want to do is create that virtual machine, that sandbox environment using multipass. So to be able to do that, we click on the start menu and then type cmd to launch a command prompt. And then I see command prompt here. I just click on it and launch the command prompt. Let me go back here once and say, don't launch VS Code, just complete the installation. We also don't need the browser anymore. We only need this terminal window. Now, what we plan on doing is create a virtual machine by the name primary. And the reason we want it to be named as primary is for the Mac and the Linux users, the default machine that gets kind of created is called primary. So we wanted the environment to be constant across different operating systems, and that's why we will create a machine by the name primary. All right. So on Windows machine, we had been having some problems in terms of assigning an IP address to the virtual machine. It was not automatically taking that. And so we will need to type this command multipass networks, and it will give some network information. And the name of the network is what we want. And I'll show you the command shortly. But all right, so it prints various networks that are available, and the network that I'm on or is available in the interface that's available is by the name Wi-Fi. This name here is what is of use to us. If you have multiple of these, pick any, things should work fine. Um, I would recommend using the one on which you have an active internet connection. Right. Okay. So we have the name Wi-Fi here. Now let me pull up a command that we need to copy paste to be able to create this instance. And that command is this. So multipass space launch space hyphen network space Wi-Fi. And this name has to be exactly the same that you have here. It might differ for you, but whatever that name is, that's what needs to go here. Space hyphen name space primary. And this is how we are naming our instance by the name primary, right? And again, the history of this is Mac and Linux users have the machine named primary. We wanted it to be same across all three operating systems. So for those reasons. All right, so I'll copy this and paste it here and fire this command. And what this should do now is download the Ubuntu image, right? It is retrieving an image from the internet, and it'll create that instance with a predefined configuration. I suppose it is 5 GB of disk space and 2 GB or 1 GB of RAM, something like that. And it will create that instance and then in the background start it. Right, so we just have to wait here now for the image or the instance to be created. This kind of takes a while, and just to avoid any editing of the video, I'm kind of not going to skip any part. So this will take a while. So maybe in the meantime, I'll talk about what we plan on doing next, right? So next for us is, so what we want to do is first off, set up the primary machine to accept SSH connections using password, right? So we want to enable password-based authentication to be able to SSH into that machine. The reason that is necessary is, if not password, it will kind of look for um, uh, RSA key, public-private key pair. It will kind of go in that direction, and we don't want that. That is too complicated for us. Makes life a little more complicated. It increases the number of steps. We didn't want that. So we have to enable password-based authentication. So we'll do that. And to be able to do this, we need to kind of edit few files. Well, edit a file and restart few services, right? So we'll do that once our instance is active. The second thing we want to do is connect VS Code to primary over SSH, right? And for this, we will need to install an extension on VS Code, right? So this is the second thing. All right. And then on this primary machine, we will need to also set a password for the user Ubuntu. So Ubuntu is like this default user that multipass creates on the virtual machine, and this user doesn't have a password. So we'll need to set a password. And again, let me just type it down here. So this is on the primary instance or machine, and this is on Windows, right? So while this is loading and getting, setting itself up, what we can do is we can go ahead and install this extension for VS Code. So VS Code, we'll just launch it from here. And once, okay, this is from the previous instance. So ignore that. What is this? We don't want it. Restricted mode, internet for safe. Okay, fine. So we go to the extensions here and we will look for remote. And the moment we get options, um, look for this remote development and extension pack. So this extension pack has many more extensions that it installs to be able to enable us to work with a remote machine. And this instance of Ubuntu, the primary machine, that will act as a remote machine that we log into and develop the code using VS Code. All right. So we only need the remote SSH and remote explorer, but it's a good idea to kind of go ahead and install all of the extensions as part of the remote development pack. All of these are installed, and now we see that this remote explorer option is available to us. This icon is available to us. Just click on that. I will need to, well, I had created this earlier, so it is picking up from like the previous installation of VS Code from some cached files. So let me actually pretend that you have not seen this. Okay, so all right. So cool. All right. So you should see something similar to this if this is your first time working with a remote machine. And what you have to ensure is that you are within this remotes tunnels slash SSH option. Be sure to be there, and then you will see that within this SSH, there is like nothing or your previous machines if you already work with SSH on remote machines. Now let's go back here, and what we see is that uh, it has kind of launched the primary machine here, and we'll type multipass list, and when we see the results here, we'll notice that IP address is assigned to our machine. The name is primary, and it is running Ubuntu 24.04. Right? Perfect. So now what we want to do is visit back and complete these steps here. We are done with these steps here on the Windows side. We want to go ahead and now make those, edit those file, allow the password based authentication, and restart the SSH service. So the way we get inside the machine, the primary machine, is we say multipass shell. And shell by default, this command will essentially get us into the primary machine. So I have hit the return key, and right. So if we see here, it prints this long welcome message and then drops the prompt, right? And if you see, Ubuntu is the user, primary is the machine name, right? And as I was saying, the installation, it kind of had 4 GB of disk space used up, and it kind of, I think, has 1 or 2 GB worth of RAM, right, as the usage. So what we are now going to do is edit few files using vim. So type sudo vim. Vim is a command line editor, a file editor, and we then say /etc/ssh SSH, and within that sshd underscore config. This is the file that we want to edit. So hit return. Now the way vim operates is that it has something called command mode, and insert mode. Insert mode is when you can change the file, and command mode is when you can essentially save it, undo things, delete things, so on and so forth. Right now we are in the command mode. So using our cursor up and down arrow, we can go, scroll up and down. But what I want us to do is enable file numbers, line numbers. So type colon, and you can see, it types the colon here, and that's the command. So colon is like a queue that a command is starting, right? And then we say set space nu, which is set line number. And when you hit the return key, you see that the line numbers are enabled. Now we'll go down to line 62, right, which is right here. And it says a keyboard based interactive authentication. It's set to it's essentially disabled, and we want to enable it. So go to the no, and then hit the I key. And once you hit the I key, you'll see that the Vim has changed to insert mode. And now if we type something, it will actually type in the file. So we are going to now delete the no and type a yes, and we want to now save this one change. So the way to save the change is to hit the escape key. So we go from insert mode to the command mode again, and now type colon WQ, which is write this file to the disk, write the changes to the disk, and quit the program, right? So the changes are now made. What we now have to do is reload the daemon, the system control daemon. And so we'll say sudo systemctl daemon reload, right? And hopefully this works. Yes. So the system control daemon is now reloaded. And now we say sudo service ssh restart. So we are now saying, hey, please restart the ssh service so that, the settings take effect. All right. So we are now done with allowing password based login or password based authentication. Now what we want to do is set the password for the user Ubuntu. So the way we do that is say sudo passwd space Ubuntu. And now it says, hey, enter a new password. And I'm going to just use my password as the alphabet P, lowercase p. So P, enter, the new password is set. Perfect. Now what I'm going to do, just so that we understand that VS Code actually could connect to this machine, what we are going to do is create a directory called LDD, which is Linux device drivers. And now if I do ls, there is a directory available, LDD. Perfect. I'll go within LDD and stay there. There are kind of there are no files within LDD. It's completely empty. And we'll come back to this in a minute. All right, perfect. So our virtual machine is all set. All configurations are done there. Now what we want is we want the IP address of this machine, right? And we can then go to a new tab here, and again type multi-pass, list, and recall that it was also printing the IP address, right? So we got the IP address. Perfect. Copy that. Go back to the virtual machines terminal here. Come back to VS Code, and now in this SSH option, click this plus button. Now it's asking us which machine do we want to connect to. So we say, hey, connect using the user Ubuntu on this IP address 192.168.0.199, and we hit the return key. It says, hey, where do I save this? We say, hey, save it in the config file, the first one. And now it says, shall I go ahead and connect? All right. So ignore this for now. Come back here, and there is this refresh button on the remotes, tunnels, all of that. So click the refresh, and you will see the machine's IP available here. Now what we want to do is go ahead and click on this button which says connect in the current window, and it will start to connect to this remote machine. We say the remote machine is running Linux, right? And do you want to continue? Yes. Enter the password. The password is what we set for the Ubuntu user, which is P in my case. Whatever you chose as the password, just enter that. And here now, if you see at the bottom, it says opening remote. So it's trying to connect to that remote machine. And remote machine in this case is the Ubuntu virtual machine that we are running. All right, it should be almost done, almost there. So the IP address of the remote machine will show up here once it has kind of, set up the connection with the virtual machine. This should take a few more seconds. All right, perfect. So if you see here now, 192.168.0.199 is the IP address of our virtual machine, the Ubuntu machine that we created using multipass, and now it has connected. What we want to do now is open up a directory to work in, and this directory will be on the virtual machine. So go to the file explorer here, the explorer, and open a folder. And when you kind of see here, there will be LDD listed, and this should convince you that we created LDD within the virtual machine, and VS Code is right now peeping inside or looking inside the virtual machine. So we open up LDD and hit OK. So it is going to kind of reestablish the connection. So it's asking Linux to be like the operating system running on the VM, asks for password, I enter P. We again wait for it, and it should go ahead and establish this connection. And it's now saying, hey, do you trust the author of this code? And we say yes, and now we are connected, right? Now, to prove a point that how we can go about developing the code in VS Code and running it elsewhere, elsewhere meaning within the virtual machine, we'll go ahead and create a new file by clicking on this new file button, and let's call it test.txt, right? And let's just type in hello world within that, followed by a new line. And now let's go back to our terminal here. Notice when we did list here, executed the ls command or the list command, nothing showed up. But now when I do list, test.txt shows up. So you should be now convinced that we were editing in VS Code, but the files were within the virtual machine. And what we are now going to do is essentially, run the cat command, which essentially prints the contents of the file, and the contents are hello world, right? And that is also what we see here. Perfect. Now here's another thing. If we open up this terminal option or menu and go to new terminal, then the terminal that appears here is exactly the same that the terminal that appeared here, which then means that the terminal here is actually of the virtual machine, right? It's actually peeping into the virtual machine, also giving us a view from of the virtual machine. So we then do not need this terminal anymore, and this is now our complete working or our development environment. We can run all our experiments here, develop the code here, compile it here, and also try running it from within the terminal that's available here. So if you are at the same point as I am and everything's working just as it is on the screen for you, congratulations, the setup is complete. And next time on, whatever development we do will be within this directory and in this format. Perfect. So with this, I'll see you in the next one.